Yo, what's going on? It's your boy Flobo Boys. This is another edition of What's Up, Flobo? It's still Wednesday here on the West Coast, but this episode's on a little later than most. I'd like to explain why in just a second. Before I do that, I want to thank you so much for checking out this episode and all the other episodes in What's Up, Flobo Canon. This was the show that was the first ever show I did as a podcast vlog, or it's more of a vlog than a podcast during the time where I had my stuff at AfterBuzz TV. This was the chance for me to talk about what's going on in my life personally. And when the pandemic ramped up, I was doing the show almost daily. And now it's a weekly update what's going on. And the only show my mom watches. So I do it for my mom, and therefore you rock along with me. Buymeacoffee.com/FloboBoys. That's how you can support yours truly as I make the content happen. And of course, if you want access to exclusive shows, bonus content, just this past week, I went go-karting with a camera on my helmet for the first time. You can see that exclusively on the Patreon, patreon.com/FloboBoys. Well, I'm back from San Francisco. One of my plans this year, as far as travel, before the other things pulled me aside to different parts of the world for different things, and frankly, I've been blessed enough to be able to travel and do it safely. I wanted to see all of the California baseball teams when they faced the New York Mets. First stage, San Francisco, the Giants. As of this recording, is a 3-game series, I believe, and the Mets dropped 2. But the game I went to was an absolute blowout for the boys in orange and blue, and I was so glad to be a part of it. It's kind of fitting that this trek of seeing all 5 teams starts with San Francisco and it ends with Oakland in September, with about 3 games in June back to back to back. It's a lot of fun to go up there with a friend of mine to go out to see baseball, eat lots of donuts and hot dogs and peanuts and drink all the copious amounts of beer. And what was interesting for me is that my theme song this year, when it comes to traveling and going after what I want and the vibes, everything has been that song by Fireboy DML, Peru, which is the name of this episode. That's where it comes from. Because he literally says in the line, he's in San Francisco jamming. When you want me, you can just flew in from Miami. And I was fortunate enough to be in both San Francisco and Miami this year, 2 cities I pretty much haven't gone to for a long, long time. But within weeks of each other, within the same month, I got to see that for different reasons. And it really got me thinking about the third life crisis. I used to have quarter life crisis outside of film school and grad school and undergrad. And I know midlife crisis comes with a different set of connotations. And even though I'm not quite middle aged yet, I like to think somewhere in between about what I want to do and what I want out of life. And I mentioned a little bit in passing about my trip to Miami a couple weeks ago and how I had a moment where I had my mobile office on my backpack, being able to do content. I was able to see new experiences. I was able to connect with new people. And I said, this is really the direction I eventually want to go to really get the brand out there, whether it's touring as a comic or doing more live events. So if you have a venue where you think I can host it or really be able to put a spin on it, let me know and I'll get myself booked in the area and not be so much tied into the space. I love this room. This room was the start of something special. You can go back to What's Up Level episode 1, where I was hunched over my bedside table with my laptop, and it's grown to having lighting and championship belts and the most famous dresser in the game today. But I want to do something more. I want to be able to put the name out there. I want to put myself open up for new opportunities, whether it's the rise of esports. Some of the days, unfortunately, I haven't been able to do because of my other duties, or whether it's become a more prolific DJ or a more prolific stand-up comedian. I'm ready to move on. But despite that work hard, play hard dynamic, which has a bad rap, but being able to say, hey, look, this year alone, this month alone, I was able to be one of the most sought after sporting events in the Miami GP and Formula One. And I was able enough to scrimp and save to see my favorite baseball team play baseball games in stadiums all across the state is something I'm able to do too. And it really puts this perspective about, and I hate to use these words like grind and hustle, but it has to be some purpose. Now, you can stack paper all you want. French Montana has said one of my favorite quotes of all time, and that's grind all night and count money in the morning. but you have to do it with people you care about. And you have to do it with a purpose and do it and see things and be able to experience things. Now, I am not a wanderlust person. I'm not a person to travel for the sake of travel. I like to travel with a purpose in mind, whether it's a gig or a networking or something like that too. But giving them time to enjoy yourself is great. I tried San Francisco sourdough for the first time. I had a flight of whiskey, a flight of beer. My team won. I feel relaxed. And that was a cheaper trip than like trying to fly away across the world thinking Europe or Asia is going to solve my problems. I just drove up the coast. It's interesting. Puts things in perspective. But I'm back now, Wednesday night, going to push this episode out. Just want to say, I can't believe I've been inspired by a song, but I feel like I'm living the life of the song. If you haven't heard the Peru, I prefer the Ed Sheeran remix version by Fireboy DML. That to me is a whole vibe and a half, especially if you like those Afro beats. Go out there, keep on doing what you want to do. Find a balance that's affordable and doable. Make new experiences. Brag a little bit about what you want to do and chip away at that bucket list. That does it for me on this edition of What's Up, Flobo. We'll be back next week as we talk about more things happening in Flobito land. Gotta say, New Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for creatives, if you haven't already, you've got to tap in. There is so many cool people I've been able to sit and chat with, just ask them their livelihoods, pick their brains. We're releasing some of the back catalog here on YouTube, but new episodes on the audio podcasting space is live every Thursday morning. New Amsterdam Radio, plug it in to your favorite podcast app. I'm a Spotify guy, but there's Apple, there's Google, there's Stitcher, there's Spreaker, there's all that jazz. I'm out. See you next week. Call your mothers, yo.